forged from the love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Heavenly Father, we come before you at the start of this new day, giving thanks for life, for health, and the opportunity to serve through this station. We ask for your divine presence to guide us in all we do. Bless this broadcast, that it may be a source of inspiration, joy, and unity to all who tune in. Whether near or far, may our words uplift, our music heal, and our message bring light to those who need it most. We pray for our listeners wherever they may be. Grant them strength for the day ahead, peace in their hearts, and success in all they put their hands to. Cover those traveling with your protection and those at home with your comfort and provision. Lord, may everything we do bring honor to you and be a blessing to others. Guide our steps, bless our efforts, and let this station be a vessel of positivity and hope. In your name we pray. Amen.
Your voice, your soundtrack, your station. New Era TT Radio. Net Radio.
Mr. Trinidad, tell me what scene you on. Do you just like political confusion? You criticizing the way you live, yet you can't produce an alternative. You say you against the power structure, you ain't like the opposition either. But take care, you jump out the hot water and end up in the center of the fire. Because you refuse to vote in election, but then you want revolution. You're strongly against communism. You walk out on colonialism. You say if William had to go, but who to replace him? You ain't know. So to make a long story short from in front, Trinidadians they really know what they want. My friend, if you don't want democracy, the opposite is guerrilla activity. If you don't want democratic improvement, you have to want a revolutionist government. And yet when Guy Harewood went in the hills with Jennifer Jones, you let them get killed. All you're doing is grinning and skylarking. You You come like the ass in the lion's skin. Because you say Robinson is a traitor. You say what's that about Granger? You say Kamal seeking his own interest. You call Millet a Marxist Leninist. You are ODAC, neither DLP, and you say TMM is only ratchet P. Well, you tying up yourself. I gonna tell you why. Trinidadians just like plenty mama guy.
Rise up. It's the Net Radio Breakfast Show. Bringing you the energy, music, and vibes to start your day right.
Trinidadian, talking black.
All right, everybody, good morning to you. And of course, welcome to it. Good to have you here.
Yes, you
Yeah, just in case you're wondering where here is. It is New Era TT Radio, the heartbeat of the Caribbean, taking you above and beyond. So let me say a very special good morning to all of Trinidad and Tobago, neighbors in the Caribbean, friends who are streaming all around the globe on the www. We are happy to have you in the land of the living. Thanks to the Heavenly Father for bringing us together for another day, and everything that we do, dear Father, let it be a blessing on to you. I'm Sir Charles, and together with our team on the inside, yeah, this is Net Radio's Get Up and Go. Welcome everybody to the Breakfast Show.
Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The breakfast show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line, let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Good vibes rolling through the air. The breakfast show energy everywhere. We talk, we laugh, we make you think. Grab your doubles or your morning drink.
Good morning. I double checked myself. I double checked before I started.
I realized. But you have the energy to say good morning. I barely have it.
I was listening to that message, that voicemail you just sent them.
Right.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yes.
The,
Voice note.
Voice note. Anyway, morning to our listeners and viewers wherever you are, Trinidad and Tobago, up the Caribbean, especially those in you in Antigua, which is the subject of Bacchanal these days. And of course, all of you across the planet, wherever you are, the Middle East, Africa, Asia, down under, New Zealand, North America, South America, wherever you are on the planet, a special good morning to you. And welcome to the Breakfast Show. We know you have a choice, and we're glad you chose us. Made the right choice. Good morning to my co-hosts, Wendell and Sir Charles.
Good morning, Sir Charles. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Trinidad. Sorry, and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe. I did hear a kind of a shower just now, but I haven't gone outside for the morning because I've had one of those nights again, and I thought it was me alone. But I realize now I have a lot of company because last night I was up after midnight, of course, and I started to share a message and people were responding. Jaron Joseph, Ted Mondy, David Wares, even Stephen Harper responded at 2 a.m. I said, but I'm not alone. So good morning to you, gentlemen. I know you all listen to this morning show. I don't know if you're feeling as I do, but Lord, I need to sleep. I need to go somewhere to sleep for days.
And all of these individuals, these are married men?
David Wares is married. Stephen Harper is married. Jaron, I don't know. Ted Mondy, I'm not sure. I think he is married. He must have more than one wife. I ain't sure.
Yeah, too much so much information.
But yeah, I have 4 pillows, well, actually 6, and none of them comforted me last night. I just couldn't sleep. I've had sleepless nights, especially the past 2 nights, and I think I know why. But But yeah, they were all up with me, you know. So special good morning, guys. Of course, there was a bit of breaking news last night that came. But let me say happy birthday to my son, Chase Stephen, my eldest son. His birthday is today, and my nephew, Jamari Stephen. They are both celebrating birthdays today, and anybody else celebrating a birthday on July 23rd. Haile Selassie's birthday is also today. So I know that the Rastafarian movement, they have a sort of a celebration also today. Well, they've had it for years that I know. I don't know if they still have it. They normally have it somewhere in
Yeah, they still do.
Is it Earthig Road? Not Earthig Road. Somewhere in Belmont End?
Yeah.
Gillingham Avenue, somewhere off Gillingham Avenue.
Yeah.
They have a celebration there. You know.
Today's also my niece's birthday. Dr. Nerisse Darbo.
Oh,
We were saying doctor. So, you know, I know all of them since they were little children. I remember her first day of going to school. She cried. And here she is today, Dr. Nerisse Darbo. So happy birthday, Nerisse. Love you back.
All right. You went silent there, Richard. I don't know what you press. Your papers, everything on top of your laptop. That is why.
Yeah.
So
Laptop.
I
I jolted my microphone. That's what happened.
Okay.
So happy birthday, Nerisse. Have a fantastic day, whatever you do. I know you'll probably be working. That's what you're probably doing. But
all right. Richard, look, somebody's saying on the chat, their birthday is your birthday too. Yours and Dr. Rowley. Well, let me go do good news, Richard, and then I'll read what started to share last night. And then we could get into it. Of course, our guest in the next hour is Attorney Raisa Caesar. We're doing the part 2 of that program we did last week, Wednesday, with her about harassment, more specifically sexual harassment in the workplace. And we'll give you a chance today to call in. So have your questions ready for Raisa when she comes on. She'll take more calls than anything in this second segment. All right, we promised you that last week. We are honoring our promise. I don't generally make promises, but guess what, we made. All right, so we'll do good news, and then I'll read what some of you all may have may have received, but you all may not. Some of you all may not. All right, go ahead, Richard.
Attraction, that invisible force that makes people turn their heads. How do you get more of it? Well, the world sells us 1,000 things to get it. This cream, this workout, this clothes. But what if real magnetism has nothing to do with what you add? Because here's what 2,000-year-old Taoist wisdom says about real magnetism and why the people who don't try to be attractive ends up being the most irresistible. Do you ever walk into a room and feel someone trying way too hard? Too much cologne, too much effort, too much please like me energy? It doesn't pull you in, it pushes you away. That's the paradox of attraction. The more you try to get it, the more it slips through your hands. Taoism calls this forcing, and anything forced collapses. So what works? Well, it's what they call Wu Wei, effortless action. It's the flow state when you're present, engaged, doing what you love and forgetting anyone's watching. Think of the artist lost in the brushstroke, or the person so alive in their own skin it just pulls you in. They're not performing, they're just being without trying. And ironically, that's how they become magnetic. But most of us walk around with a cup full of shoulds and judgments and ideas of what we think is attractive. But Lao Tzu would say, empty your cup. Let go of pretending. Let go who you think you should be. Let go of the need to impress. Because the moment you stop chasing an image, you become an experience. And that's what people truly fall for. Because in a world of filters, of highlight reels and hollow validation, the rarest thing right now is someone who's just present. Someone who just is. So let this be your reminder that you don't need to become someone else to be attractive. You just need to stop being everything you're not. People will feel you before you even say a word.
I wish you could replay that end there over and over and over again. Just the very end. But it's
I'll have to go through the whole video, I think.
Yeah, but you should save just the end of it.
Uh,
You know, it's instructive. You know, so that was our good news segment.
yeah, let me end it officially. About being attractive and don't try so hard. I mean, I say a lot of people try hard to be attractive, of course. But just be. I guess ultimately the message is be you
Be yourself.
and do what you love.
Yeah.
You know, and don't look for it. When you're looking for it, you don't find it.
Mm-hmm.
And Wendell?
Yes. Sometimes it tends to find you and you don't want it.
Woo!
You don't want it. Anyway, so this I'll read this quickly for you.
It causes you to be up late at night at 2 o'clock with searcher.
Of course.
It causes you to have sleepless nights. 3 in a row.
You and other men of your ilk.
Yes. Me and other men of my ilk. Ted Mondi, Gerald Joseph, David Wares, and Stephen Harper. I don't know if they are my ilk, but them had a sleepless night too last night. I can't say, maybe they slept like babies in the 2 nights before, but I've had 3 in a row.
Should we say good morning to our people in our
let's greet the people before you get to
I don't want to open the rabbit hole. We're going to go down the rabbit hole and get lost.
And get lost.
All right. Okay. Let's not go down the rabbit hole as yet. Let's do Subash is a consistent first now, because he is up late. Good day, everyone from Woodland. Have a safe and productive day, Subash. Anthony Tinto from Toronto says good morning. Ozzy Molino also says good morning. Valerie Mendoza, she's the first one. Well, Oli Molino came in at midnight. Valerie at 12:01. Good morning to the breakfast team. Joyce Phillip, top of the morning to you guys. Susan Jessup, God's love and blessings. Boy Bidesi from Debe says good morning. Brennan Smith from Goodwood in Tobago. Margaret Thomas, good morning, guys. Melissa from Champlain. Marcia Rock from Orlando, Florida. Sherwin and Juliet Kerr from Arima. Marlon Motley from North Valsay.
Morning, Marlon.
Robert Taylor from Fernandina Beach. Wendy and James from Aranguez. Rena
Morning, Robert.
Rena
Morning, Wendy Ann.
from Pity Valley. Ava Smith says good morning. Diane Payne also says good morning. Have a nice day. Cheryl Johnson from Malabar in Arima. Carol Guevara from Chaguanas. Wayne Ramsey from Fort Lauderdale. Nicola Nichols. Odell Gray from Sangre Grande. Michael Grandison, a.k.a. Sankofa. Ambrose Blah from New York. Nicola McNichols, Kaisu. You know, that Kaisu is probably one of the best written calypsos ever in Trinidad and Tobago. That calypso called Mr. Trinidadian by Maestro, the late Maestro. It's probably one of the best calypsos ever. I can't hear enough of it, trust me. And it goes on and on and on. He has endless verses in that calypso. Ron DeSantis Jr. from Norfolk, Virginia. Katian Charles also praised the calypso. Katian Charles from Cascade. Slick Money Grip, Miguel Gonzalez, Mrs. R, Victor Thongs,
Morning, Mrs. R.
Again says good morning. Pamela Grimshaw says blessings to the best trio on the radio. That's a new name. I can't say if it's new people here, but I know when I notice a new name. Oliver Manwaring says good morning. Lambert Bruce from El Dorado. CJ from New York, much love.
Morning, CJ.
Helen McCarthy says good morning, guys. Cat Consulting, who is Chris Toussaint. Chris Toussaint, that's a double pop, you know. You don't give massages across there. At least not that I know. You know something we don't know, Chris? Diane Payne sends happy birthday to Che and Jamari. Nicola McNichol says her birthday is October 24th, same day as Richard Raghubar Singh and Dr. Keith Rowley. She may be pulled over too, you never know. Viticulture says good morning, guys. Nicola sends happy birthday. Bernadette Yates sends good morning to Wendell, Richard, and to Charles. Bernadette and Nelicia. I'll add Nelicia to that all the time. Bernadette, I hope you don't mind. Hazel Will says good morning. Stella Services from New York City. Andre Reno. Michael Grandison is also Sankofa. Attraction is a natural thing based on the pheromones. Everything else are just philosophical accidents. Okay? I never knew that. Richard, you knew that? I bet you didn't.
Well, pheromones is part of it, but I don't think it's the only thing.
Listen, once it's coming from a human being, I don't want to part it. Trini gets fit. Christopher Batman says good morning. David Wares said he had an airport pickup. All right. Shirma Paul, blessings to you all. Wayne Joseph, morning. Magic also says good morning. DL, sleeping like a baby, is getting up every 2 hours to cry. That's probably what happened to me. Well, no, I don't sleep at all. Michael Robinson from Yokohama, Japan. Brent Hackshaw. Emo Jordan, that's also a new name, says good morning. Lennox Francois, he slept like a baby from Baltimore. Hill Benj, Anne Noel, and from Oshawa, and Claire Lendor Rollins from, I don't know, but I'm not seeing the name the person I met in Price Smart today. I don't see that name again. Lentil Francis, I think that was the surname. Something Lentil Francis. I don't see that name coming up again. But good morning if you're still listening. So Charles?
Yeah. All right. So let us say good morning to the folks out there at Horatio Services on the board very early this morning also. Kent in Laventel, good morning. Salty Construction Limited. Salty, I said, call me, you know, wait on. Archbishop Ashton Clark, good morning to you. Carolyn in Caranage on the move early. Frank all day in Aruka, good morning to you. Mr. Frank, Terry Ann Peters, good morning to you. Johan Cephas, good morning to you guys. Mr. Billy in Powder Magazine, very early also. And Mr. Beeps, good morning to you. I think Mr. Beeps is down in Pity Valley. Yeah, so that's what we have so far for the morning on the WhatsApp.
All right. A morning also to Doreen Pierre, and a special morning to the folks at Bagwan Singh's Hardware. You need to get on board.
Yeah. Call us. 281-1315.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might be in Bagwan Singh's today, actually.
You'll be in Bagwan Singh's?
Yeah, I'll go in there today.
Okay. Pick up something for me now. Anything to cheer me up.
Boy, you had nothing to get this, Charles.
Oh, Lord, it's so easy to tease you sometimes. Anyway, so this is what, apparently, yesterday, after our show, because our show went absolutely viral yesterday, people shared clips of our show, right? And so the Newsday newspaper apparently contacted the Antiguan authorities and did a follow-up, of course, to the story that came out yesterday. And in a way, Gary Griffith was right. Gary Griffith yesterday said the 44 people who voted, they believe Dr. Rowley is right. And he also believed the 24 people who voted that the commissioner, that the TTPS is right, may also be right. And he may be onto something. Because this is the story that came out of Antigua yesterday. Courtesy the Newsday newspaper, right? It says the government of Antigua and Barbuda lamented the delaying of former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley on 2 occasions recently in transiting through country's airport, a senior government minister told the newspaper via phone call. On July 22nd, Newsday contacted Interpol, which is based in Lyon, France, on July 22nd to ask if Rowley was on its watch list. Interpol replied, this is quoted, "We will always refer inquiries to national authorities. Therefore, we would recommend you address your query to the National Police of Trinidad and Tobago." Newsday later spoke to Antigua and Barbuda's Minister of Legal Affairs, Public Safety and Labor, Stedroy Benjamin. Stedroy is a real Antigua name, who is also that country's Attorney General. He regretted the incident and supported Rowley's accounts of events. Approached by the newspaper, Benjamin initially said, "Well, to be quite honest with you, we do not wish to comment on that unpleasant circumstance that arose in Antigua a few days ago with respect to former Prime Minister Dr. Rowley. It is unfortunate and deeply regrettable. But as far as I am aware, Dr. Rowley has not misstated anything. Benjamin said his government had decided not to make a comment on the incident, but as Attorney General and Minister of Immigration, I could say that Dr. Rowley has not misstated anything. But as to who caused his name to be on the Interpol list, we have no idea about that whatsoever. So that cannot be verified at all by us. We know nothing at all about that. So two things Mr. Stedroy Benjamin has said in that Dr. Rowley, his account of what happened to him in Antigua is correct, right? Mm-hmm. And that his name is on an Interpol list. Basically, he confirmed that his name was, based on Antigua records, his name was on the Interpol list. So it gets curiouser and curiouser. How it got there, who put it there, is the big question. Which is what Dr. Rowley asked for the TTPS to say if you had anything to do with it, for the Office of the Attorney General to say if you had anything to do with it, or for the National Security Council through the Prime Minister if you had anything to do with it. Because
read back that last part, Wendell.
The last part.
The last part you just read there. Yeah.
Benjamin said his government had decided not to make a comment on the incident. But as Attorney General and Minister of Immigration, I could say that Dr. Rowley has not misstated anything. But as to who caused his name to be on the Interpol list, we have no idea about that whatsoever. So that cannot be verified at all by us. We know nothing at all about that. So that's basically coming from the minister in charge of, well, the Attorney General and Minister of Immigration in Antigua.
But the way he used the language, to appear on the Interpol list, I'm wondering if it says that, he saw that list and
well, he has to know
that list, or if he's just saying the Interpol list that Dr. Rowley was talking about.
No, he has to know. He is Attorney General and Minister of Immigration. He has to know what he's speaking.
Well, I mean, the most important thing, I think, from what you said there is him saying that Dr. Rowley did not misstate anything. Which we talked about yesterday. We said that Dr. Rowley is not the type that is going to call a press conference to lie.
Yeah.
That is not Dr. Rowley's style. And
plenty people in the chat called him a liar yesterday. Some of them read the stages that I had to remove.
Yeah, but people will say whatever they want to say, the political lens and policy stuff. But for us being in the media for a while, that's not Dr. Rowley's persona.
Yes.
In terms of calling a press conference to make up an incident in Antigua.
Especially about himself.
Yeah, so we felt that there was truth to what he said, but we didn't understand what happened. Which was why one of the questions yesterday was, what the hell happened in Antigua?
Yes.
What actually happened? Because obviously he had an experience that indicated that he was on a list. He raised it in a press conference. The TTPS was pressed to answer and answered pretty quickly, saying that, well, basically what the TTPS is saying is it wasn't me by Shaggy. Cue music here.
No, they didn't say that. They said that they checked. They thoroughly checked the.
That's what they're saying. So it wasn't, but ultimately that's what they're saying. When Sir Charles,
they didn't do it. They didn't do it.
They didn't do it. That's basically what they're saying. With all of the tougher words, that's what they're saying. It wasn't me.
No, well, what I'm saying, Richard, is that what they were saying is that as far as they are concerned, it is not there. They didn't. So if
they didn't put it there. That's what they said.
They didn't put it there. They said that it was not there.
Well, if you listen,
they have no record.
Yes.
I'll go back and find that.
But basically, they were saying it's not us.
Yeah.
It's not us.
Yeah.
If your name was listed, if your name was listed, it was not us.
Charles, pull down that jacket there. Watch that petticoat there a little bit.
Yeah.
Pull down that jacket.
Tuck it back inside.
Yep.
And it goes to what Garvin and Gary was saying yesterday, the double G's that we had yesterday on yesterday's program. They were saying that you could be listed, but not from Trinidad and Tobago. Because
Yes.
it doesn't make any sense for Trinidad and Tobago to list you.
Yes.
Because Trinidad and Tobago has access to you.
Yes.
If it is
Yes.
that you were answerable to some offense, but a third party country could list you.
Yep. But at Trinidad, and this is me with my political conspiracy theory here. Trinidad could probably cause it, at the end of the day, They may not have done it themselves, but they could probably have caused it.
Oh.
You understand? And I'm reading a message here. Ascribing a motive to place KR on Keith Rowley on the list falls closer to home. I believe that. I honestly believe that. And when you listen to, there's a long voice note, though, guys, from Watchman Wade Head out in Uganda. It's long, so we can't play it. But he basically showed you the steps and the different lists, that the color codes in terms of lists. Gary alluded to it yesterday. In terms of a red list means you'll be arrested. If you're on the red, it means you'll be arrested. You understand? But there are different color codes based on Watchman's voice note. You understand? Where does he fall within that? We don't know. But I think it was meant to harass him. I said that yesterday, and it worked. It did harass him because Dr. Rowley looked stressed yesterday when you saw it. Right? He looked stressed.
I don't know if we could play some of what Wayne Head said.
Yeah, play a little bit now.
Well, yes. Anytime you send it WhatsApp it, I have to kind of work out how to get it out.
Okay, you work it out yet? Yeah, but a lot on the chat. The L is saying Interpol is not politically affiliated. Who said they were? Nobody said they were. But if a country flags somebody for one reason or the other, Interpol won't get involved in that. But they'll have to do it. They will do it. Not so? Isn't that what we cleared up yesterday?
Richard, if you want, I can play some of it. I can play it for you.
Go ahead and answer, Charles.
Yeah. Hold on. I don't know why you don't want to play.
This is Dr. Wayne Head, the Watchman, on the 22nd of July, 2025. And I want to delve into the Interpol watch list and the alleged stopping of Dr. Keith Rowley through the airport in Antigua. And to tell you there is much more than what has been said. And in that I mean that the Commissioner of Police had made a statement with respect to the incident in which he indicated clearly that a check of all records showed no evidence of Dr. Keith Rowley being placed on a watch list from Interpol. Now, that may sound to be complete, but that's not the whole truth and the facts. There are a lot of things that you need to understand about Interpol and how it operates to understand that it is quite possible that Dr. Rowley could have been flagged and stopped and treated in that manner because somebody put his name into the system. Now, let me start by saying, technically, there's no watch list. People use that colloquial term to mean that your name is on a list where they can watch and see it, basically. But Interpol operates as an international police organization where there's cooperation and coordination amongst law enforcement entities in different countries to ensure that criminals and those who have other bad intentions cannot slip through the cracks from one country to another. So Interpol has a system that is called a notice system, the Interpol notice. And notices are given out throughout the entire world. Once a notice is put into one country's system, it is reflected all over the world. So, what kind of notices are there? You have red notices where they're seeking to arrest a person who is wanted for prosecution or running away from a sentence, the red notice will inform all countries about that person. We have to assume that in the Brent Thomas case, a red notice was issued to inform the Barbados authorities that Mr. Thomas was in Barbados and was wanted. That's a separate issue that we're going to deal with, but we have to assume that a red notice was done in that instance. You have blue notices in which they collect information on the identity and the location and the activities of particular persons who coming from one country to another, so they could track them, especially if they believe that they'll be engaged in some criminal activity. You have yellow notices that they use to locate missing persons who don't know who they are or where they are. Black notice to identify dead bodies. Green notice, right, that they could inform a country about any person or thing that could be an impending threat. Orange notices to warn about some event that could happen that could have an impact on the country that or any other country in the world that receives the notice. Silver notices that to trace criminal assets. You have purple. They have a number of notices, all of which serve different purposes, but the main purpose is to warn other countries about individuals who will be traveling through their countries. And once these notices are issued, there are strict protocols in Interpol where it is put into the system and flagged to everybody. So therefore, if you look for any of these notices and you don't find any evidence, you can easily say, well, Dr. Rowley was not flagged because his name doesn't appear in any of the notices. But that is only on the surface. Underneath, there's an informal system called diffusion, in which they share the same information, but not with everybody. One country can share that information with another country. And even though technically it's supposed to be put into the system in the same notice form, it doesn't always work that way. And sometimes countries deliberately do it informally, but it does not appear in the system to show that the person has been flagged. And it is quite possible that that could be the process that was used. So therefore, that informal system serves to defeat the entire purpose of having a strict regime of entry and collation and referral and review that Interpol attempts to use. But it can go in and it can go from one country to another. So let's say Trinidad to Antigua, to inform them under the diffusion system to watch Dr. Rowley or somebody else who may come in the country. And it goes further than that.
Right,
it becomes even more informal.
Let it run, or you're going right through with it.
Yeah, you can hold it there. Watchman does long voice notes. He does long voice notes. Richard, you might.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of the information right there. Anyway.
Yeah. Basically, we got a sense of what he's saying, And he was saying maybe it was an informal notice that was issued, But I'm sure Dr. Rowley's going to get to the bottom of it, Trust me. He is going to get, and Andre, I agree, he did say he was told it was a case of mistaken identity. He doesn't believe it, based on, I gather he didn't buy that. I'm sure he's going to get to the bottom of it if he hasn't done so already. You understand? I'm sure he will. Dr. Rowley was around for far too long, and he always tell it that I around too long. You understand? To just leave that like that, after 45 years in public life, the last 10 as prime minister, he is going to get to the bottom of it. And maybe it's nothing, maybe it's a lot. We'll find out soon enough. Mm-hmm.
Well, I wanted to get to the headlines, and then we could probably open up the lines to take some calls before we get to our morning poll, which I assume you have sent already. So the Daily Express for this morning, on the front page, moms sick with worry after children fail to return home. Vehicle found abandoned. Oh my God, that's any parent's nightmare. That's a nightmare. sons vanish. So that's the main story on the front page. Missing is Ryan Singh. Grief Annie Sitahan, mother of Kiran Lachman, who vanished on Monday, holds up his photo during an Express interview. That is any mother's nightmare, any parent's nightmare.
Yeah, the young man who missing.
Yeah, but they're saying sons. There's also one called Ryan Singh who's also missing.
Right, I think it's two different incidents. Though.
Yeah, two different incidents.
Yeah.
Backlash after suspects killed in Karim kidnapped top cop. We're under threat. Rampanalgas residents on edge over kidnapping. All of that is on the front page.
No, but that story with the backlash is a voice note started to circulate yesterday. I didn't get it, but I saw it on the news last night. About a threat to all off-duty police officers and no prisons officers concerning that shooting and the incarceration of people. So the police commissioner is warning his officers and so on to be very vigilant. That's serious.
Water disruption, no supply for parts of North and Central and South tomorrow. Fire hits Children's Authority. Police are investigating a fire that occurred at one of the reception centers of the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. And the main picture on the back page, People's National Movement, Port of Spain South MP Keith Scotland presents former community-based environmental protection and enhancement program worker Alison Drakes with a food hamper. So that's the main picture. On the back page, actually. They don't use, Express has the wonderful idea of doing news on the front and the back. And so to get to the sports, you have to kind of go in. Never give up. So says Andrew Russell in action for Tobago Knight Riders. Williams misses out on a kilo medal, and St. Lucian footballer dies after stabbing at Carnival. And Jereme Richards, leading towards longer race for Worlds, favoring 400. So that's it for the front and the back of the news of the Trinidad and Tobago Express. Now on to the Newsday. The Newsday front page. Police Commissioner warns of growing threat to law enforcement. Cops, watch your backs. Residents, there might be a gang in Rampanalgas. Antigua, we did not put Rowley on Interpol list. And the main picture is of a return to a crime scene. Checking for further evidence on July 22nd, prepared to have the abandoned house in Rampanalgas, at which Janki Seti Karim was rescued. So it was in Rampanalgas that rescue took place. On the back page, TNT hockey teams on shore to compete in Pan Am Cup, packed and waiting. And TT's Paul sprints to Summer Slam gold. So congrats to you, Paul. And that's Nicholas Paul, I assume. And on the front and back of the news. Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today. 8 days of hell is the headline that the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian went with. Kidnapped victim left scarred after being held captive in abandoned beach house. Top cop puts officers on heightened alert. Day 6 of SOE, Parliament to debate SOE extension on Monday. And the main picture is that of the house in Rampanalgas, where Seti Karim was rescued. TTFA focusing on qualification. Edward says Soca Warriors nickname not a priority. And that's it for the 3 dailies this morning.
All right. Yeah, the stories of people going missing and they finding the vehicle it's getting well, we're having plenty stories like that lately. You understand? So, and also Finbar Collins, I agree with you. Dr. Rowley, he says Dr. Rowley would not have called a presser for mistaken identity. He already has the information. He's deliberately putting this at the feet of this government. If TNT's government was not involved, he would not have done a presser. He specifically called out the TTPS, AG's office, and also the PM. He knows what he's doing. I suspect Dr. Rowley didn't do that just like that. But again, people have their own agendas and so on, especially when it comes to politics. So let's see where it goes now, Let's see where it goes.
I just want to read something to you guys. For all of you who are accusing me of my petticoat showing, I just want to read what.
Hey, no, we did not accuse you.
Yes, you did. I
No, I
think
just tell you pull down your jacket.
All right. So I was just telling you guys what the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service said. And I just want to read from what the Commissioner of Police said. He said in response to the TPPS said, it conducted an immediate internal review and comprehensive database check confirming there are no flags, alerts, or warrants linked to Dr. Rowley's name.
Yeah, that's from the TTPS point of view, eh?
But no, but that's what that is what I was saying. I wasn't talking about nobody else's point of view. I was saying the police was saying that they checked and they went through their database and they did not see any flags or any things like that on his name.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, which is basically what we saying. But if I had to believe one against the next, the TTPS would come up wanting all the time with me. They will come up wanting because I could tell you personal stories that will have you wherever here you have on your head stand up. The TTPS will always come in wanting with me when it comes to telling the truth. Trust me. Anyway, let's open up the lines and we open up the lines early. Don't forget we have Raisa Caesar in the next hour. She will do the part 2 of the harassment in the workplace, specifically sexual harassment. We will have that in the next hour. We'll have Raisa come back with us in the next hour. So prepare your questions and DL know your question. You can't ask that question. Well, you're calling them, but you have to find out. You have to be clever in asking it, right? I suspect DL is a man now.
All right, so the lines are open. 281-1315. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. Norfolk, Virginia, front and center. Hey, I know after listening to Dr. Haid, Watchman, and I remember the Brent Thomas case. I don't know if we really get the truth behind this, and only because, look, one, it's seen that, Dr. Rowley may have a good case here. At the same time, Interpol is not obligated to share the source of their information and so on with different police agencies. But I can assure you, though, some damage could be done here with our credibility when there might be genuine cases for Interpol to be alerted. And that's where my major concern is. But as Brigo says, when I remember the Brent Thomas case, do so in like so. So there could be some mischief, or it could be a simple situation of mistaken identity, somebody with a similar name. Remember Al Gore? He gets shaken down at the airport because someone don't remember who he was. So I say it could be either a genuine situation of mistaken identity, but at the same time, I don't put nothing past anybody in Trinidad politically. Anyway, have a good day, gentlemen. Bye.
Well, you see those last words they use there? That's absolutely true. Don't put anything past anybody. Because a lot, people might say, oh, well, he looked for that because of what happened under his watch with certain people. Gary kind of alluded to that too. So people say those things, and yeah, okay, you can. You know what I mean? But so just know that the person who may have done this to him, their time coming too.
That's what the same thing they say in email gate, the person time coming. That person's still outside there. Good morning to you, caller.
Good morning. Well, we're in a sad time now where your emotions, your belief about certain things just pretty floppering. Because I'm sure I am not ashamed to say when this situation first came out, I had my doubts about what Dr. Rowley was saying. But I also said I need to verify that from either Antigua's end or the Interpol. And it has been verified. So I have no other option but to switch my opinion and believe Dr. Rowley. So now it brings the question, the integrity of the TTPS, who say they do a search and his name is not on a list, right? I know we need kind of give them an out, give them an exit strategy to suggest that, hey, sometimes it might be a list, but the name might be on a list, but its internal, and TTPS may not be able to identify said name, right? I think that was a cop out. I think the TTPS is either lying or incompetent, right? And and you know which one you and I would lean towards.
Well, we could go with both.
We could go with both. Yes.
We could go with both.
Have a good day.
Yes, thanks very much, Sam Lincoln. Who do you trust? All right. Good morning to you, Mr. Patrick.
Hey, morning, Charles. Morning, Richard. I'm watching morning when the morning Trinidad and Tobago.
Morning, Mr. Patrick.
You know, when I listening the conflict of interest with this list where this Dr. Rowley accused whoever he did being on. You grandma sometime last 2 weeks.
Dr. Rowley didn't accuse anybody, yeah?
No, he accused. I don't know who he accused.
No,
but somebody put in the list. He accused whoever it is.
He asked questions of people. He didn't accuse anybody.
Well,
that's a big difference,
all right. All right. Well, somebody put it. If they put it. Right? No. You can remember when with the CARICOM meeting, a certain prime minister said Trinidad and Tobago owe them 60 million US.
Yes, somebody was saying that we owe, and they want the money.
And they say Rowley didn't pay the money.
Well, which country? You gotta remind us.
I can't remember the guy's name yet, but I could remember definitely saying that. And he said, "Oh, they coming for the money," and Dr. Rowley didn't pay them the money.
Are you talking about the air traffic issue?
Yeah, bridge.
No. You're talking about
something with some government say.
No, Piaco controls the air lanes for a big part of the Caribbean.
Right. And
isn't that what you're talking about?
Money. Yeah.
Yeah, but that is a new claim. That wasn't something that was owed. They're now suggesting that.
No, he said Dr. Rowley them supposed to pay up that money. Dr. Rowley was him, he said. And they didn't pay no money. So he come in.
They didn't say Dr. Rowley specifically.
Yeah, I don't like what he said, Mr. Patrick.
No, I said the government.
No, you know.
Dr. Rowley, that's what you just say.
Yeah, you.
Yeah,
and I'm saying they never said anybody. They said Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, they said Trinidad and Tobago. They didn't
but
say
the man said the government of Dr. Rowley. I hear the man clear say that.
We didn't hear him say that.
I didn't hear him say
that. And now he coming by Mrs. Tamar to see if she can pay it. That's what the guy said.
Are we speaking about Antigua, Mr. Patrick?
Yes.
Right, so say that.
Say
no, I cannot remember the name of the country.
It's Antigua.
You remember now? Okay.
Right. So I don't know. It's a mischief out there. Outside there, real mischief. I got it up.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Patrick.
I don't think we've ever paid any money to any Caribbean islands, and they were just trying to say that we should pay. Because we control the air. The Piaco controls the, I can't remember what you call it. Well, they have several air people inside this chat. They call it our radar. They're in control of a lot of the air coordination of flights, a large part of the Caribbean. So I think Antigua and Grenada were raising that maybe we should pay them money for that. But
people are suggesting in the chat, Richard, it's about CLICO, the CLICO situation.
Oh, good Lord.
No, I didn't think it was about that. You know. Yeah. Ms. Sampson, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. The TTPS don't have to know what went wrong, you know. You remember a certain person was sending letter to America to damage the country. I tell you all, I'll read the next on the list. This new government just running on bacchanal commerce and everything else. You all have a good day.
Thank you.
Mr. Sampson,
I think we need more facts before we can judge, make cast judgments on the issues. We need more facts, and the facts are coming forward pretty rapidly because Antigua confirmed that he did not misstate. So we just have to see where it goes, which is kind of the subject of our poll this morning, which you will see in a little while. Well, I suppose which you could see now because it's 5 minutes too. Unless we have a call waiting, we could go to the poll.
No, we don't. Go ahead.
All right, so we could go to the poll at this point, and there's the poll. Wendell loves to read it.
Do you believe that the Attorney General needs to speak up on the Interpol issue raised by Dr. Rowley? In other words, the Trinidad and Tobago's Attorney General, right? The Attorney General of Antigua has spoken. Do you believe that the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago needs to speak up on the Interpol issue raised by Dr. Rowley? That's our poll this morning. All right? But you have to vote. You ready for votes, Richard?
Yeah.
All right. Steph is saying I already cast judgment, but you had to vote, eh? Brennan Smith says yes. Mrs. R says yes. Joyce Phillip, yes. Rena Jennings, yes. Kelcha Cambridge, yes. Andrew Joseph, yes. Shirma Paul, yes. Miguel Gonzalez, yes. Nicola McNichols, yes. Beauty Cut, okay. Lennox Francois, yes. Wayne Joseph, yes. Kazim Mohammed, yes. Cheryl M, yes. Bernadette Yates, yes. Ron DeSantis Jr., hell yes. Robert Harper, yes. Squared. Michael Oliver, yes. He will today. Okay. Did he announce that he's doing a press conference today? I'm not sure. Michael, enlighten us. Christopher Rowley, not Keith Christopher Rowley, says absolutely. Melchizedek, okay, didn't vote. Alistair Hart, yes. Andre, yes. Melchizedek voted yes. Ian Robley, yes. Carlisle Cupid, yes. Carol Guevara, yes. Far Rockaway, another well-crafted poll. We always craft our polls well, Far Rockaway. Thanks for that compliment. Finback Collins says yes. Lester Cragwell says no. Gregory, we have more serious crime. Well, we do, eh? We have serious crime issues to deal with, but you could still vote on it. Anyway, you did vote. Gregory Boyer says yes. Andre Reno, yes. Ava Smith, yes. DL, yes. Melchizedek, you voted already. Valerie Mendoza, yes. Marlon Motley, yes. Ann Noel, yes. Suzanne Jessup, yes. Cheryl Henry didn't vote. Michael Grandison says yes. Anne-Marie Watson, yes. And Mrs. R is just laughing her belly full this morning. She well laughing today. Richard, what you do? What you do? What you do best. That's how you're supposed to answer. I had to teach you everything. When somebody asks you what you do, you say, what I do best. That's how you answer.
Okay, that's your stock answer.
So Charles, you ain't learning at all, you know.
There's some things that you just have to not learn to wear.
Oh, we still have a minute and a half, people. Carl Jack says yes. CJ from New York, yes. Beauty Culture, yes. Julia Batiste, yes. Those are all some votes we have. Keep voting, people. We could cross the 66 that we did yesterday.
I believe you probably would.
Robert Taylor says yes. Do you believe that the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago needs to speak up on the Interpol issue raised by Dr. Rowley? That's our poll this morning. Margaret Thomas also says yes. We have 40 seconds, people. Reynold Roberts also says yes. Magic says yes. Ellen Prescott says yes. Slick Money Grip also says yes. Come on, people, keep voting. And of course, you can vote during the news break. And I'm so Sir Charles has a whole pile of votes there.
Yeah,
it's coming up. It's gonna take a little while on the WhatsApp, but it's coming up.
Jason Samuel says yes also. So we will break there for our 7 o'clock news. The time on the chat is different to the time at the top of the screen. You all ever notice that?
Okay. All right, so we go for the 7 o'clock news and we will be back shortly.
Yeah, of course.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is News Now on New Era TT Radio. I'm Derek, in for Amanda today. Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesar has reconvened Parliament during its recess for an extraordinary sitting on Friday to debate the extension of the state of emergency, SOE. A simple majority vote is needed to approve the extension. Under the Constitution, a state of emergency proclamation lasts 15 days unless revoked. It can be extended by up to 3 months at a time, not exceeding 6 months in total, with parliamentary approval. A statement outlining the grounds for the SOE must be presented within 3 days and debated within 15 days. The SOE was declared based on police intelligence revealing a major organized criminal plot involving prison-based gangs planning to assassinate justice and law enforcement officials and target key institutions. Police Commissioner Alistair Gavarro briefed the PM and the National Security Council before the decision. Attorney General John Jeremy called the plot an existential threat to the state. The government will defend the move in Parliament, while the opposition will be given the opportunity to respond. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service confirms that the crime syndicate behind a series of kidnappings used to fund illegal weapons remains isolated as authorities continue efforts to dismantle the group. Commissioner of Police Alistair Gavarro says the syndicate's leaders are locked away in a secure facility with no outside communication, while their associates are actively working to free them. Meanwhile, one suspect involved in the kidnapping of Janki Sati Kareem was shot dead during a police operation last night. According to Commissioner Gavarro, officers from the Interagency Task Force and the Guard and Emergency Branch moved in around 10:30 p.m. at Old Piarco Road. They were met with gunfire from the suspect, and under the TTPS use of force policy, officers returned fire. A Glock 19 pistol and ammunition were recovered at the scene. The commissioner says the TTPS remains committed to dismantling criminal networks threatening national security. St. Augustine MP Khadija Amin is urging farmers to support the proposed Stand Your Ground legislation, saying it could strengthen their right to defend themselves and their property. Speaking at a farmers' meeting in Orange Grove, Amin highlighted the dangers many farmers face, including armed robberies and attacks while transporting cash or produce. She argued that farmers, like other business owners, are vulnerable and deserve the legal means to protect themselves. Amin noted that many farmers in her constituency have already applied for licensed firearms. She said the proposed law, along with anti-home invasion measures, will allow citizens, including farmers, to legally defend their lives and livelihoods. She encouraged farmers to read the draft legislation being circulated by Attorney General John Jeremy and invited them to a consultation on August 6th at the National Hockey Center in Tacarigua. The UNC plans to host consultations in all 41 constituencies as part of its commitment to making legal gun ownership more accessible. A second suspect in the kidnapping of 44-year-old Janki Sati Kareem was fatally shot by police just hours after her rescue on Sunday night. Kareem, who had been abducted at gunpoint on July 13th in Valsaine, was found alive around 6:30 p.m. at a house along the Toco Main Road in Rampanalgas. One suspect was killed during the operation, and a female suspect was arrested at the scene. Later that night, around 10:30 p.m., officers from the Interagency Task Force and the Guard and Emergency Branch visited the Old Piarco Road home of another suspect. The man allegedly confronted them with a firearm and was shot. A Glock 19 pistol and ammunition were recovered. Police Commissioner Alistair Gavarro said the suspects were part of a criminal syndicate connected to imprisoned gang leaders and confirmed that ongoing efforts are aimed at dismantling their networks. Kareem was unharmed and reunited with her family. In the region, Bermuda authorities have arrested 4 American cruise ship passengers on charges of drug possession. Police say the individuals were found with a significant quantity of illegal substances, including cannabis and the powerful opioid carfentanil, reported to be 100 times stronger than fentanyl. and typically used to sedate large animals like elephants. The suspects also had vape pens and what are believed to be THC-infused gummies. The arrests followed a tip from security personnel aboard a Carnival cruise ship. The suspects were taken into custody upon docking in Bermuda, a wealthy British territory in the Northern Atlantic. Acting Detective Superintendent Derek Burns said the seizure may have prevented a potential tragedy. Carnival Cruise Line has yet to issue a comment, and Bermuda police have not released further details. Finally, in international news, a growing number of French cities have imposed nighttime curfews for minors as authorities battle a surge in drug-related violence. The southern city of Nimes is the latest to introduce restrictions, barring those under 16 from being out between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. Mayor Jean-Paul Fournier described the security situation as untenable, with drug gangs creating a climate of fear. A recent string of shootings, including one in broad daylight, left several injured and one dead. Just last week, a partially burned body of a 19-year-old was found on the city's outskirts. Other cities like Béziers and Limoges have enacted similar curfews, but enforcement remains a challenge. Some mayors admit the measures have done little to deter violent youth gangs who have attacked police with fireworks and evaded arrest. The crackdown is part of a nationwide effort to combat narco-violence, which claimed over 110 lives in France last year. 17 top traffickers have now been moved to a high-security prison as authorities ramp up pressure on drug networks. And that's news now at this time.
That was News Now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
The mid-morning just got better. Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle, where good music, real talk, health, and family matters come together, and your voice is heard. Whether you're at work, on the go, or just taking a break, this is the perfect mix to keep you engaged, informed, and entertained. The mid-morning mix and mingle, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Men, women, tired of the invasive, painful old methods of testing prostate and breasts?
The Institute of Health and Fitness Clinic and Wellness Center offers comprehensive and non-invasive diagnostic testing, which indicates the nature and extent of diseases and tests your nutritional levels. Our quick testing can identify early signs of problems by evaluating many of the bodily functions, such as male and female sexual function, gastrointestinal function, liver function, kidney function, thyroid function, heart and brain function, and also cancer testing. Results are comparable with other medical lab tests with or embarrassing specimen cups and is pain-free. We also offer all natural treatments. Visit us now at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna, or call 492-7397 or 289-6363.
Mornings just got better. You're locked into Net Radio Breakfast Show, fueling your day with the best music and real talk.
Like it like that. Coming on my life like snaking out the grass. One with your thickness in the right body. One with your thickness in the right back. Let me talk with a friend, I me like it like that. Coming on my life like snaking out the grass. One with your thickness in the right back.
Well, I don't have time to beef. Lucky for you, my friend. I in a good spirit. I drink in a good spirits. The vibes right up to the limits. So don't hold me down, don't fight me down. Yeah. Good spirit. I drink in a good spirits. The vibes ain't cars in a minute. So don't hold me down, don't fight me down. Yeah. My friend and them couldn't tell you about me. Good people, it's good people. We only want love in we circle. Yeah. My family couldn't tell you about me. Good people, it's good people. We only on love. Well, every man make their choices. I say we make sacrifices. We block out the noises. We have to forget the voices. One day we gon' make it. We don't have to fake it. I give you my best. I give you the chain off my neck. I give you my love and respect. But now hear the story. Is you vex with me? Like I do you something. Like I do you something. When I hear the show now, is you vex with me? Like I do the wrong thing. Like I do you something. Oh, it's a good
fresh energy. This is the Net Radio Breakfast Show.
Yeah. We're in a good spirit, and that is what we bring to you each and every morning. Thank you very much for staying with us. Thank you very much for choosing us and being here on New Era TT Radio. Of course, we are the heartbeat of the Caribbean, and of course, we stream all day, every day at newerattradio.com, New Era TT Radio on TuneIn, and of course, our next engagement, especially for all those who are on the YouTube channel, will be our drive time exchange with Tony Fraser that comes up between 4 and 6 p.m. this afternoon. All right, so let's jump back inside of the breakfast show. Let's pay some bills.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
Charmflair Auto Services Limited, your one-stop auto repair shop, located at number 1 Industrial Lane, Charmflair, right opposite the brewery on the Eastern Main Road. Yes, we do it all. Repairs to all makes and models, from your everyday sedan to SUVs, light trucks, pickups, and panel vans. We're also the sole distributors of Devontae tires, certified VTS inspection station, plus a wide range of services: oil change, front end and suspension repairs, tune-ups, tire alignment, batteries, electrical work, radiator and cooling system, AC repairs, and accessories galore. We offer pickup and drop-off service too. Call us today at 662-6545 or 662-6572. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Charmflair Auto Services Limited, number 1 Industrial Lane, Charmflair. We do it all.
Looking for trusted, affordable security and property services? Horatio Services has you covered across Trinidad and Tobago. We offer battle security, K9 patrols, 24/7 protection, and all sorts of private investigations, discreet, professional, and effective. But that's not all. We also provide construction. From building to renovation, we bring your vision to life. Landscaping, keep your outdoors looking sharp and inviting. Maintenance, repairs, upkeep, and everything in between. At Horatio Services, you get professionalism, reliability, and personal care. Whether it's safety or property support you need, visit us at Marino Street, Arima, or call 388-7070. Today, Horatio Services, protection, precision, peace of mind.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box. So we're back, and of course we can continue with the poll for this morning. I'm of course winding up on the poll and getting the final poll results. So I have Wendell up to where you gave me.
Yeah, I can.
Of course,
I
you can
can
vote on the
continue.
poll. If you're watching us on M&E TV up the Caribbean and in Trinidad and Tobago, you can vote in the poll by simply WhatsApping 281-1315. 281-1315. You need to save that number as the breakfast show.
Yeah.
281-1315, and you can WhatsApp and get interactive also by saving that number. But you can also vote via that number, especially if you're watching us on cable TV. So 281-1315. Wendell, any further votes?
Yes, Black Leo, yes. Susan Jessup say I'll cut your tail just now. Both to that effect. Cheryl Henry say I would cringe if 3 of all, yeah? Okay. 3 of we on the breakfast show? If we ever chosen as jurors? Okay. Trini gets fit, yes. Helen McCarthy, yes. Cheryl Henry, no. Estelita Sampson, yes. RR, no. Michael Robinson, yes. Jason, what did you call Jebel? Okay. Apollonius, yes. Donna Ramlo Chan, no. She voted. Diane Payne, yes. Linda, no. And okay. Whoever Nutscake is, you're a nutcake. I think that's what I think. You're not Nutscake.
Nutcake or nutcase?
A nutcase. That's what it is. Whoever you are. Sometimes I have to monitor your comments. Yeah, go ahead, Sir Charles. Give your
okay. Right. So Afia Lashley says yes. Pauline says yes. Sean Ram says no. Sexy Red says no. Archbishop Ashton Clark says yes. Kurt Edward says yes. Mr. Bailey says yes. Judith says no. Oh no, Judith says yes, sorry. And Cynthia Aaron says no. What for? And Anand says no.
All right, and just one more vote, Richard. RJ says yes. All right, so we could end the day at 7:18 on the chat. Do you believe that the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago needs to speak up on the Interpol issue raised by Dr. Rowley? What's up?
All right, and in the results, we had 71 people voting on the poll this morning.
There we go.
And of the 71 people voting on the poll, 63 of you said yes, you do believe that the Attorney General needs to speak up. And 8 of you said no, he does not need to. So 8 said no, 63 said yes. So that's by a whopping margin. The yeas have it on our breakfast show this morning. They are the majority of our listeners and viewers who chose to vote, qualified by saying that, who chose to vote. The vast majority believe that the Attorney General of TNT needs to speak up of the Interpol issue raised by Dr. Rowley. And that's it for our poll today. Polling is now over.
You're pretty honest. Get vexed with you. And to all the people, I have like 1, 2, 3, 4 persons now coming in to vote. You know, that's why we tell you, vote throughout the news.
Yeah.
You know.
Don't wait till you hear us repeat the poll again.
So I would have missed all you after, because if I call Richard and say, Richard, hold up there, pressure.
Boof.
Pressure. I ain't with all that pressure anymore.
Boof. I don't want nonsense you're talking. I don't buff people. Nonsense you're talking.
He buffing us, he buffing us to tell us he don't buff us.
Yes, you understand? So
anyway,
I'm trying to get the votes early so I can put, especially the WhatsApp people, they come in early while the news going on, vote, all in between there.
Yeah. All right, so the vast majority believes that the Attorney General, John Jeremy, Senior Counsel, needs to say something. Of course, Senior Counsel, if you're watching, you have said many times, you promised me that you'll come on the program, and you have not yet come on the program. So I don't want you wait long. So I have to hold him to that. And
most government officials, we having, you know,
Davindranath Tanku,
reaching out to you guys, man.
Yeah, Minister of Finance has also promised to come on at some point. So we'll see if they hold through to their promises and their words of.
Yeah, I don't know how it's so difficult to get government people to speak.
Words of assurance. Well, to be fair, John Jeremy, Senior Counsel, the Attorney General did tell me that he would come on eventually, as did as Minister of Finance and Minister Tanku, as did Minister of Defense.
Homeland Security, we don't know we're trying to control the Homeland Security. Message we leave in, not responded to none.
I said Minister of Defense. I never said Homeland Security.
No, I never.
I am just having a
didn't say that.
conversation saying the people who promised to me that they will come on the program at some point.
All right, okay. Well, you deal with
Okay,
it.
now you can have the floor. Say what you want to say now. Go ahead.
Fire! I need an attorney. I wonder if Raisa Caesar could deal with this case too. Boy. There's like abuse, you know.
Anyway, we're going to our Let's Talk segment. Raisa Caesar is on standby, and we're talking harassment in the workplace. God knows I get it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Good morning, Miss Caesar, and thank you for joining us on the breakfast show once again.
Good morning, gentlemen. You all had me cracking up when I'm backstage there.
Oh, you can hear us?
I can.
Yeah, very much so.
Well, I didn't know that. Now I have to be extra careful.
Perhaps.
All right. I didn't know the guests could actually hear us. I know I can see them, but I didn't know that they were actually hearing us.
Miss Caesar, this is what I deal with, what you're seeing on your screen right now. This is what I deal with every day.
That's what it is sometimes.
You reading what he put up there, Miss Caesar? That's what he's showing you, you know.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
That's what I deal with every day. The two Muppets up in the balcony. That's what they are.
Too much trouble. Too much trouble. But it was
a pleasure meeting you eventually, Miss Caesar. Good morning again.
Indeed.
Yes.
Same.
Yes, it was a pleasure meeting. All right. Of course, we're doing the part 2 of that program. You come, I just for the benefit of our new listeners and those who may not know, let me just read a little part of Ms. Caesar's bio. She's a partner at CPFL Law Firm and an accomplished attorney at law with 15 years experience. She holds a master's degree in corporate and commercial law from the University of London. Raisa was awarded a government scholarship to study law at the University of the West Indies, where she earned a Bachelor of Laws. She completed a legal education certificate at the Hugh Wooden Law School with merit. So she comes very qualified. And of course, she would have elucidated on quite a number of issues last week with us for harassment in the workplace, more specifically sexual harassment, and something that you don't know if you're getting it. Actually, sometimes it's as subtle as that. But I guess at the end of the day, it's how you receive it to determine how you move forward on a matter like that. So men, you may actually, or some women, you may actually be perpetuating sexual harassment and don't even know. You understand? So, like when Richard answered this morning, when he couldn't answer, what do you do? What do you do? And I said, well, you need to answer. Well, what I do best. That could be a subtle form of harassment. I don't know. But let the experts speak.
Well, thanks again. So last occasion we were talking about the fact that sexual harassment could be, lateral or horizontal, meaning on the same lines of the from persons on the same level as you in your employment, or it can be vertical in terms of within the hierarchy, as in from a more superior or senior person to a subordinate. So, as you said, the intention behind it is not always what is considered. But sometimes there's that clear intention to be hostile. But sometimes you may be doing certain things that will fall within the test of causing that detriment to the person in their employment and having that sexual connotation, and you haven't really, you have not really identified it as that. So it's important to spread the awareness, and that's why we find it important to as legal professionals come on programs like this to make sure that persons are aware. So thank you.
Yeah, what I was wondering, Ms. Caesar, the issue of and we touched on it the last time you were here, the issue of what constitutes sexual harassment. And of course, the lines could get very blurred depending on what it is. And of course, I think a lot of it is on the impact on the person receiving how they receive the message. I'm specifically phrasing this question with perhaps HR departments and professionals in mind, because they're the ones who have to deal with the issue in workplaces. It always heads back to the HR department, and they have to navigate it. And you could get, for example, an employee coming and saying, he tells me good morning every morning, and I don't like it. Now, how is HR to deal with that? Because HR may be dismissive, depending on the lens and which you see. But say he's telling you good morning, he's being polite, and let's say it's a woman, she can say, well, I don't like how he says good morning, and he says it with intent, and I could tell, it's not just a good morning, it's a good morning, and it's a way he says it that I feel uncomfortable. How should HR deal with something like that in a circumstance? And I'm just giving a kind of broad example of a blurred line incident.
Yes, of course. So that's why on the last occasion, as we indicated, policy is so important. So having that employment policy, which sort of gives that guidance as to what is and is not acceptable, which is then incorporated into each employee's contract. So an employment contract should say that the policies of the organization are incorporated. And then when the employee is onboarded, the policy should be presented to the employee, and to ensure that the employee is fully aware of the contents of the policy. So it's not enough to just have a policy, but there must be some sort of evidence that that policy was actually brought to the attention of the employee. So that policy would say, based on the guidance we have from the Equal Opportunity Commission policy and the national policy, we know that those policies will speak to things like compliments not being considered sexual harassment generally. They would also speak to things like picong not being considered sexual harassment generally. And of course, politeness falling below those two situations, we would say that would generally not fall under sexual harassment. But if you find that somebody is doing something in a certain context and in a certain way, of course, and you feel uncomfortable, of course, that can be reported, because we know things like tone and context do lend to the situation. So the recommendation there in terms of HR handling the situation would be to take a report and to investigate the matter. So again, the policy should also indicate an investigative process. So, whether it's that you sit with an industrial relations officer, whether statements are taken, how these statements are taken to protect persons. Sometimes they may be anonymous, but containing sufficient information that the person accused can understand what he's being accused of. So these guidelines are, what we would use to help HR navigate that space. So what I would say too is that sometimes a mediation approach may be as in a less, adversarial approach in terms of a situation where it may be a misunderstanding or a miscommunication, may be more beneficial than taking a more adversarial approach. So that's the guidance I would give to HR in that regard.
So should companies, based on what you just said, should they have printed billboards about the business to say this is the policy? Because maybe some workers don't know that there is a policy, or maybe they have heard of a policy, but they don't know what it contains. Yes.
So if there's a company where there are policies and the workers really don't know about the policies, that is a failing of the employer. Under industrial relations, the employer is obligated to bring to the attention of the workers that there are policies. So, for practical advice, we are living in a technological world based on even our interview this morning. And a lot of times employees, employment policies will be up on the company's portals, for instance. So if you have, a big, as you say, billboard, if you have like a big section on your website or on your company portal where you have, drawn to the attention in big red, okay, company policies, and when there are new policies, it comes up as a notification. Those kinds of things will be the kind of evidence that the industrial court will look at, for instance, in determining whether there was sufficient notice given to employees about certain company policies.
You know why I brought that up too? And this is it's related, but it's related in terms of signage, but not in terms of harassment. Because when Malcolm Jamal Warner drowned the other day, the media took the time to go by the resort and showed you the signs warning about the waves and about the dangers there and so on. They showed you actual physical signs. So in other words, in a way, the resort is absolving themselves one time that, hey, we're not responsible. The warnings were there and they were publicized. So that's why I asked that in the context of companies actually putting something up so that people can read it. Because not everybody's going to go to the computer on their portal.
Yeah.
But if they've seen it in front of them,
Yes. Well, another place that was just one practical example. But as I said, it being identified as a clause in the contract, sometimes employers forget to do that, to just simply incorporate what we call the company policy into the contract with that language of saying that, the company policies also form terms and conditions of the contract. So that is an important step. Of course, on the portals, they give you that accessibility, but also usually at the HR office, the human resource office, they usually keep policies, copies of the policies as well. And that should be a known thing, that employees can come and review copies of the policies at the HR manager's office or at, a relevant location that is central to employees so that they can access it. So those things are important, and it is good practical advice, as you say, to employers to understand how to navigate that.
Yeah. Well, we did tell people that we're going to take more calls today, but they could also post their questions in the chat, and I have a couple for you already, Ms. Caesar.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, this is coming from someone in Barbados. He said, how can one deal with a post-consensual relationship where a person continues unwanted advances? For example, should I report her for still wanting hugs?
Post-consensual relationship. So I was just trying to understand that term. I think what I understand, and I don't know if the person is in the chat, if they could clarify, what I think that I understand is that initially the interaction was welcomed, and thereafter the interaction became unwelcome. So first it was consensual, and then it became post-consensual or not consensual anymore. In that instance, I think what we were talking about on the last occasion, which was possible responses of the victims in terms of, and Richard would have highlighted it, in terms of making it clear, so objecting and informing the alleged harasser of the conduct in question and indicating your clear, objection and that they should desist. So if the person feels comfortable to be able to do that with the person, they should do that immediately. Now, of course, as I was saying as well, sometimes you don't feel comfortable to do that. So in that case, if you are not comfortable to do that, you need to probably report it to a supervisor so that the supervisor can speak with the person. And also, thirdly, there are actions that you can take. So maybe you may not feel comfortable to verbalize it. You can move out of the area when they do it. You can, basically, sometimes even if you deflect it and you say, well, that's uncomfortable, you make some sort of action, even if you don't say it directly in words, that gives the person the understanding that you do not approve or you are not consenting to the interaction anymore. So of course, everyone has choice. So if you initially were in a certain situation, it can become, as Richard says, sort of murky in terms of now you want to withdraw your consent, but that is available to you. You can simply do it by way of words, clear action, and reporting if that does not work.
Is it beneficial then for, as part of that policy that workplaces should have with regard to sexual harassment and harassment generally, but sexual harassment specifically, that they have a policy that guides into employee relationships where employees want to date one another, and that it should be disclosed, and that they both signed disclaimers, etc., that sort of thing?
Yes. As workplaces get more, complex, and our societies get a little bit more complex, I think those things would become beneficial in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't see it often when I see policies, employment policies, but fraternization policies should become more prevalent, because people spend, I would think maybe 80%, I think that might be the statistic, of their time at the workplace, right? So sometimes it is an opportunity for persons to enter into relationships that are romantic. So there should be a clear policy on that in terms of what is allowed, because some of them may simply not be allowed based on the type of work that it is, and it may compromise the work environment. And then if it is allowed, of course, having that declaration made is important as well. So as we become a more sophisticated society, yes, I think that is definitely something that we can consider and move towards.
Yeah, because I know sometimes they don't want people who are in a relationship, for example, working in the same department.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yes. And in terms of certain services like financial services, there may be, conflicts and compromises that may arise when you have that sort of relationship within an employment context. So in some cases, and that's why a policy is necessary, because in some cases it may be prohibited completely, and then in some cases it may require that the persons report it, so that there's that transparency for all involved. So very, very essential point. Very good point.
You know what I want to add to that, put into the mix, Ms. Caesar? Harassment in extended places of the workplace. In other words, you go for lunch. You all go for lunch at a restaurant, and the harassment happens there. Or you meet somewhere else as colleagues, and that harassment happens there. Can an employee take action there?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm so glad you would have raised that issue. So in terms of the national policy that we have on sexual harassment, they actually highlighted that as one of the issues, in terms of not only would it be considered sexual harassment on the workplace, but also the policy. So that is 6.4 of our national policy, where might a sexual harassment offense occur. And they indicate that there actually was case law, trade dispute 147 of 2009, and they indicated that sexual harassment can also take place outside the workspace. So, for instance, in social activities or events organized by the enterprise for staff or clients, conference and training sessions, official business travel, business meals, workplace telephone conversations, work-related communication through electronic media. So it's all covered. So that's why a policy is so essential, because you can stipulate all of those things within the policy, that it's not only at work, but of course within a work environment, there will be, activities incidental and necessary for employees to attend, because these things are part of your employment relationship, part of your employment experience. So you don't want employees to feel uncomfortable in those spaces either, because it all forms part of what they're required to do as an employee of this organization. So yes.
Yeah. So our lines are open, 281-1315 for Attorney Raisa Caesar. Our lines are open. All right. So you can call in now, or as I said, if you choose to send a message, like Lauriston Paris did from Barbados, feel free to do so on the same number, WhatsApp. All right. Another question, Ms. Caesar, whilst we wait on a call, unless Sir Charles has one. Can you explain the role of a bystander witness, especially if the witness is unwilling to get involved? What mechanism exists for this currently?
Right. So in terms of the bystander witness, we kind of touched on it a little bit lastly, but we spoke about in that seminal 1995 trade dispute case. There were two witnesses. Well, they were actually also persons who indicated that they had similar experiences, and they identified everyone by way of their initial in the case, and not all of the women by way of their initials and not by their name. And in some instances, yes, we would have that, where you would not identify the witness. The balance to that is that, one, the policy may have a sanction for a false report, right? So that will, basically temper any issue people may have. Well, it's anonymous, I don't know who this person is. Well, if it is found during the investigation that they made a false report, there can be certain sanctions in the policy for that. And two, if they are anonymous, they still have to give, enough specifics such as location, time, so that the person can say, well, all right, I was at this location, I was there at that time when they are claiming that this incident occurred. So there's that balancing act in terms of, you don't want people who are acting as what you may call whistleblowers to feel compromised, but also you don't want to have the threat of false report. So there's that balance.
Okay. 281-1315. We are taking your calls with Attorney Raisa Caesar. Let me see if I have any more questions.
Yeah. Of course, we're talking sexual harassment specifically in the workplace. Whether your workplaces, I think a lot of workplaces don't have those policies as yet. I know where I last worked, we did institute a policy concerning it, but I know a lot of places don't see it as important, I guess.
Yeah. Well, happily, out of this interview, I was speaking with a colleague, and they work in a legal space, and they indicated that their management saw it as necessary to impose a policy subsequent to seeing our program. Well, so I was very happy about that, because it's bringing the awareness to the employers of their duties. In Belize and Barbados, they actually have specific legislation, sexual harassment legislation, that actually mandates these policies. But we don't have that specific legislation. We just have the policy, national policy and Equal Opportunity Commission policy, I suppose, in a hope that building that cultural awareness of the need. But perhaps it's something that the legislatures can consider in terms of whether there's that need, if they find that there's this prevalence in society, if they find that there's that need to make it a mandatory requirement.
Yeah. Is it that we have to go for a break, Sir Charles?
No, not yet. Brandon, right?
Yeah, okay. I figured it was that.
Yeah. But but it will work for that too, eh? All right. I have a question from someone in the chat. They say if someone is experiencing what they believe to be sexual harassment at work, but they are unsure if it legally qualifies, what signs of behavior should they be looking out for, and what should they do first?
Okay, so if they are unsure as to what is taking place, as we said, the first step would be to you have autonomy of yourself. So remember, we spoke on the last occasion, but I'm repeating certain things because I know we may have different viewers and persons may not have heard everything. So we talked about, for instance, how we have certain zones that in a professional setting, people are allowed to be within. So for instance, you have your intimate zone, your friend zone, social zone, audience zone. So if somebody is, for instance, within your intimate zone, that is 6 to 18 inches away from you, and you are in a workspace, you have the autonomy to ask them to kindly, give you some more space, you need some more breathing room, that sort of thing. Also, if somebody is saying something to you and you find it to be suggestive, you may simply want to ask them, also, what do you mean by that? There's no problem in simply asking a question for clarification in a respectful and polite way. So you have the autonomy in terms of how you interact with somebody in your personal space. You have autonomy to ask a question. And of course, thirdly, if you are feeling uncomfortable about something that someone is doing, you can say, this makes me feel a bit uncomfortable if you do that. I did a matter once, and the person was making a lot of allegations against their supervisor and saying that the supervisor had invited them for lunch, for instance, and they didn't feel comfortable about that. The supervisor's explanation was that, well, I invited her for lunch because she's new to my department, and I commonly do that to try to get to know, my new staff, especially when I'm working closely with them. If they are a manager and I am their supervisor, I want to have that rapport. So he had a plausible explanation as to why he had invited her for lunch, but she felt that that invitation for lunch was an improper sort of invitation. Eventually, the tribunal that was hearing the matter did find that there was no sexual harassment in the situation, but it isn't, and partly I think because if you are uncomfortable with the lunch invitation, what did you do about it? There was no evidence that she had, actually, made it clear that she did not, like the reason that she did not want to go to lunch was because she felt uncomfortable. Yeah. So, when it's clear, it's clear. So if it's someone touching you in a private zone or something like that, that's clear. So whether you say no, once you move away and you show that you did not give consent, it would generally be that the facts would be on your side. But if it is a more nuanced situation, I think there is that requirement for you to speak up and say, oh, well, I prefer not to go for lunch with my supervisors, something like that you may say, which will give that indication that, hey, you're not comfortable
you're
with
not interested.
interaction.
But but Raisa, I hear you.
Hold 1 minute. Hold 1 minute.
Some employees, that's difficult, huh?
It is. Yeah. It is. And we're not denying that. And that is why that reporting is also so important. So everybody has different personalities. Some people are more forward and would be able to advocate for themselves. But that's why you have the infrastructure of the HR, environment or industrial relations officer where you can go, or even your immediate supervisor where you can go and report. Also, simply telling somebody else. I was reading another case last night from the UK Employment Tribunal, and they were saying that, for instance, the employee had received a call from her supervisor that was very uncomfortable. It was very explicit. He said certain things that would be considered, and she then went and called her sister immediately afterwards, and she sent a text to her sister, and then he had called her back. But when he called her back, she thought that he was calling to apologize, so she took the call. So her call records would show a call from him, a call to her sister, and a call back from the accused, right? So the accused was arguing, well, if she felt that my first call was so, detrimental to her, why did she take my call back? So her explanation there was, well, I took the call back was because I thought you had probably lost your mind. You said you were drinking, so maybe you were going to apologize to me, and say, well, I was drinking, forget about that. So that was her impression. So one of the crucial factors that the tribunal considered was the fact that she had made that intervening call to her sister to say, oh my gosh, my boss is, acting out, or whatever was the contents of the reporting to her sister. And that was something that was brought into evidence to show that no, she was not consenting to that interaction because she had reached out to somebody. So whilst that reaching out could be seen as self-serving, they said, because of the context of him denying it and her using it to say, well, no, I did try to, inform somebody that there was this awkward interaction.
You see why I stopped taking calls from some people now?
Everything must come back. Reason my apologies. Everything must come back to him. I am sorry.
Well, because I have so much experience, Richard.
Yeah, I apologize.
I have so many experiences.
I apologize on behalf of the breakfast.
But it's just to give some practical, interactions, because I think that is what people wanted the help with. Like, I could talk about, the principles and everything, but to try to give that sort of practical, real life interactions coming from the facts of the cases that we know about, I think is a little bit helpful.
I think Sir Charles had some continuation of the question. Did you, Sir Charles?
He had a call.
Actually, I had Mrs. Aaron. She went off the phone.
I thought he had a call.
Yeah, but I also have a question from someone else on the chat, and they are saying if someone reports harassment and then starts getting threats unfairly afterward, what can they do? And they are also asking, is that considered retaliation and is it illegal?
Very good question. So in terms of if you report, for instance, if you report the sexual harassment as a form of discrimination under the Equal Opportunity Commission, if upon your report you start to get, further discriminatory treatment, that can be seen as what they call under that legislation, victimization. And so if you are victimized as a result of your report, that in itself is another infringement of the act. So yes, you have protection there. So if it is you make a report and then you are victimized, yes, you have recourse under the law. Also, there was another trade dispute case where, and it happens quite often, where people, 78 of 2009, where the person had gone through a proper process with the employer where they investigated the allegation. The employer would have actually given the person who the accused counseling, because he did admit under the investigation. So they gave the accused counseling, and then they also offered counseling to the victim, which I thought was very, very good on the part of the employer. But here's where the industrial court said they fell down. They fell down by not notifying her that, okay, this is the resolution of the matter. We have found that he was liable for sexual harassment. We have sent him to counseling. They did not follow through with, although they did all the steps, they didn't tell her that, okay, we are on your side. We found that he actually was the perpetrator. We agree with your position, or whatever they wanted to say. They did not do that. And the industrial court said, whilst they had followed good steps in terms of their investigation and their aftercare with the counseling, they fell short of actually informing the victim. So when an issue arose with her employment thereafter, she thought that she was being victimized for her previous report, although it had actually gone well and gone in her favor. So that is why it's so important for the employer to follow up with the victim, make sure that they are comfortable, they are informed of everything that went on and the result of the investigation. Because if something else happens to the employment, they may think that it's related to the report. And you can see how somebody's psychology, they're already on edge. They may think that it's related to that report. And therefore, they may think that their dismissal or any sort of other disciplinary action, and maybe even unrelated, might be as a result of that. So
it creates a kind of situation, because if, and going back to that issue with lunch, if a supervisor says, look, I want to take you to lunch, whatever. And some employees may be intimidated. They may feel awkward, but they may feel I have to comply because my job is on the line. Because there's a supervisor asking me for lunch, asking me to go out to lunch, and I may be uncomfortable. But I figure that if I say no, and I am empowered enough to say no, that there are going to be repercussions, that subtle forms of victimization, which are less obvious.
Yes.
That you will know it's happening, but but some supervisors are smart and they can be doing the victimization, but so subtly.
Yes.
That it's not necessarily traceable, but it's happening as the employee.
They could use someone else.
Yeah, but they could manipulate and maneuver the thing. So I don't know, connected to that, which is one part of it, but connected to that too, how important is sexual harassment or harassment training in terms of what the policy is important to employees and supervisors? And should it be like an annual thing that every year you have sexual harassment training, like a refresher, and maybe you have supervisors separately from employees, or do you do it as a whole group? In terms of guiding employers listening to the conversation.
Yes, very good question. So in terms of the training is a limb under both of the policies that we have nationally, the national policy and the EOC policy. So training is important because it would allow persons to know how to deal with these type of matters. So the HR personnel need to understand that investigative process. They need to understand the learning from coming out from some of these seminal cases, for instance, that you need to inform the person after. You can't just do the investigation and then, all right, everybody's on their way, because the victim is going to be confused and not be certain as to what exactly is the outcome. Training is very vital. And I was looking at, as I told you, there's that case where they said rape, aggression, defense training came out from that case. So I was doing a little bit of research on that, and I saw that our Rape Crisis Society of Trinidad and Tobago, they actually offer different training in terms of sexual harassment and rape aggression training, of course, and different counseling for both the employers and the employees. So that is a resource that I suppose that employers can go to if they want more assistance in terms of organizing their employees better and organizing their systems better. And of course, they can go to their industrial relations specialists. There are many industrial relations specialists who specialize in helping with policies, and of course your attorney at law who may be specialized in industrial relations and employment law. So those are the resources that they can go to in order to get further advice as to how to frame policies, how to train your staff and your managers as to what to do. Because you're right, if the staff are trained and if the managers are trained, everybody will sort of understand what is the protocol. So even this thing about people not knowing what constitutes and what does not constitute, if there's a policy, persons are trained in it, they will know, well, the policy, this contravenes the policy, remember the policy. So people can draw on that research and that education in terms of how they inform their interactions with each other.
Can I ask a question? Is all of this, if something happens in last year, is there anything that is statute by with their time for you to report these things?
Oh, that's a good question. Now, in terms of reporting timelines, that is a very good question. And I'd like them to know that you all didn't tell me what the questions were before, but it's just from my readings. I was looking at another case, which is 26 of trade dispute 26 of 2007. And in that case, what they found was that after there was the allegation of the sexual harassment, and the employee did not do anything about it. She didn't make any report. She did not take any steps to leave the employment. Thereafter, there was an allegation that she had stolen something on the employment. Again, she didn't make any report. She didn't make any move to leave the employment. And in that case, they found that the trade dispute was dismissed because there was not sufficient evidence of the allegations that she had been making. So that time frame issue is important. So also under the Equal Opportunities Commission, you do have 6 months from the time of the incident to make that report to the Equal Opportunities Commission. So yes, timing is important in terms of making your reports. If, for instance, you decided you wanted to go under the High Court, and maybe if, for instance, the phone, if it, there's cases where the phone conversation can cause psychological harm, you may have 4 years in terms of making your claim. If it is a tortious claim, we call it, or a personal injuries claim, you may have 4 years to make that claim. But if you're going under the Equal Opportunity Commission, you need to act promptly. And of course, if you don't act and then you let things go until maybe you are dismissed for another reason, and then you want to bring up this issue of sexual harassment, whether your allegation will be seen as valid based on the time that you've passed and your failure to make that relevant complaint.
You know what I was wondering? You know what I was wondering is whether, and of course this is nothing you can answer, but I'm just wondering whether big institutions like the TTPS, where you see obviously that there are relationships between police officers that play out on social media in all manner of categories, whether they need some serious policies to deal with that, and whether they need to have annual training.
That place can't fix.
Huh?
That place can't fix.
Michelle and Wendell, I think you all are putting me in some trouble. I'm sweating.
It can't fix. That place can't fix.
So whilst I don't have any reports of what you are speaking of, but if what you are saying is in fact the case, that there are certain institutions where you find that there's this culture of supervisors, I would call it preying on young personnel, and if there's that prevailing culture in the organization, yes, there needs to be that cultural shift, because people are becoming more aware. Trinidad is becoming more litigious in its culture, and they can get themselves in a lot of trouble. So that is a matter for the employers to take up and try.
The praying goes the opposite way too, right? Because especially for those who want quick promotions and what, the praying goes up to where?
Well, don't you have all of this insight? Or you have all of this insight?
That place can't fix. I don't know why he raised it. Yes, that place can't fix.
I think we can end the view here, because before Wendell gets us more.
Before we end, let me just let people know how to contact Miss Raisa Caesar at CPFL. Contact them at 238-8284. So you get your pen and paper ready. Because I'm sure you're listening now when you want to contact her. 238-8284 and 237-2570. And it's the email address is info at cpfllaw.com. All right? So that's how to contact.
It was a pleasure, as it was before, and thanks for having me and being able to, of course, what I've said doesn't replace having, your proper legal advice on your particular situation, but it's just to spread that awareness so that persons are aware of the issues. So thank you.
Yeah. And next week, of course, I will be in touch with you, Miss Caesar, concerning the issue of inheritance and wills. All right.
Sure, I have just the person for you all, so I'm going to get her to come on.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you so much, Miss Caesar. We appreciate it.
Goodbye.
We do. And Cheryl Henry, you are right. I saw where Just a Nice Guy asked that. But of course, you would know if an advance is welcome. You would know. So, but if the person doesn't welcome it, then you should respect it. So, Cheryl Henry, you're right in terms of that advice you would have given.
But that simple thing of going to lunch and inviting somebody out to lunch, that's a very that's one that can happen. And I understand what you're saying, but sometimes employees are not so sure how to say no.
Yeah.
How to say no is a training session.
Yeah.
How to say no.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right, so we're going for the news and we will be back.
No!
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is News Now on New Era TT Radio. I'm Derek, in for Amanda today. Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Caesar has reconvened Parliament during its recess for an extraordinary sitting on Friday to debate the extension of the state of emergency, SOE. A simple majority vote is needed to approve the extension. Under the Constitution, a state of emergency proclamation lasts 15 days unless revoked. It can be extended by up to 3 months at a time, not exceeding 6 months in total, with parliamentary approval. A statement outlining the grounds for the SOE must be presented within 3 days and debated within 15 days. The SOE was declared based on police intelligence revealing a major organized criminal plot involving prison-based gangs planning to assassinate justice and law enforcement officials and target key institutions. Police Commissioner Alistair Guevara briefed the PM and the National Security Council before the decision. Attorney General John Jeremy called the plot an existential threat to the state. The government will defend the move in Parliament, while the opposition will be given the opportunity to respond. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service confirms that the crime syndicate behind a series of kidnappings used to fund illegal weapons remains isolated as authorities continue efforts to dismantle the group. Commissioner of Police Alistair Guevara says the syndicate's leaders are locked away in a secure facility with no outside communication, while their associates are actively working to free them. Meanwhile, one suspect involved in the kidnapping of Janki Sati Kareem was shot dead during a police operation last night. According to Commissioner Guevara, officers from the Interagency Task Force and the Guard and Emergency Branch moved in around 10:30 p.m. at Old Piarco Road. They were met with gunfire from the suspect, and under the TTPS use of force policy, officers returned fire. A Glock 19 pistol and ammunition were recovered at the scene. The commissioner says the TTPS remains committed to dismantling criminal networks threatening national security. St. Augustine MP Khadija Amin is urging farmers to support the proposed Stand Your Ground legislation, saying it could strengthen their right to defend themselves and their property. Speaking at a farmers' meeting in Orange Grove, Amin highlighted the dangers many farmers face, including armed robberies and attacks while transporting cash or produce. She argued that farmers, like other business owners, are vulnerable and deserve the legal means to protect themselves. Amin noted that many farmers in her constituency have already applied for licensed firearms. She said the proposed law, along with anti-home invasion measures, will allow citizens, including farmers, to legally defend their lives and livelihoods. She encouraged farmers to read the draft legislation being circulated by Attorney General John Jeremy and invited them to a consultation on August 6th at the National Hockey Center in Tacarigua. The UNC plans to host consultations in all 41 constituencies as part of its commitment to making legal gun ownership more accessible. A second suspect in the kidnapping of 44-year-old Janki Sati Kareem was fatally shot by police just hours after her rescue on Sunday night. Kareem, who had been abducted at gunpoint on July 13th in Valsaine, was found alive around 6:30 p.m. at a house along the Toco Main Road in Rampinalgas. One suspect was killed during the operation, and a female suspect was arrested at the scene. Later that night, around 10:30 p.m., officers from the Interagency Task Force and the Guard and Emergency Branch visited the Old Piarco Road home of another suspect. The man allegedly confronted them with a firearm and was shot. A Glock 19 pistol and ammunition were recovered. Police Commissioner Alistair Guevara said the suspects were part of a criminal syndicate connected to imprisoned gang leaders and confirmed that ongoing efforts are aimed at dismantling their networks. Kareem was unharmed and reunited with her family. In the region, Bermuda authorities have arrested 4 American cruise ship passengers on charges of drug possession. Police say the individuals were found with a significant quantity of illegal substances, including cannabis and the powerful opioid carfentanil. reported to be 100 times stronger than fentanyl, and typically used to sedate large animals like elephants. The suspects also had vape pens and what are believed to be THC-infused gummies. The arrests followed a tip from security personnel aboard a Carnival cruise ship. The suspects were taken into custody upon docking in Bermuda, a wealthy British territory in the northern Atlantic. Acting Detective Superintendent Derica Burns said the seizure may have prevented a potential tragedy. Carnival Cruise Line has yet to issue a comment, and Bermuda police have not released further details. Finally, in international news, a growing number of French cities have imposed nighttime curfews for minors as authorities battle a surge in drug-related violence. The southern city of Nimes is the latest to introduce restrictions, barring those under 16 from being out between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. Mayor Jean-Paul Fournier described the security situation as untenable, with drug gangs creating a climate of fear. A recent string of shootings, including one in broad daylight, left several injured and one dead. Just last week, a partially burned body of a 19-year-old was found on the city's outskirts. Other cities like Béziers and Limoges have enacted similar curfews, but enforcement remains a challenge. Some mayors admit the measures have done little to deter violent youth gangs who have attacked police with fireworks and evaded arrest. The crackdown is part of a nationwide effort to combat narco-violence, which claimed over 110 lives in France last year. 17 top traffickers have now been moved to a high-security prison as authorities ramp up pressure on drug networks. And that's news now at this time.
That was News Now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
Charmflair Auto Services Limited, your one-stop auto repair shop, located at number 1 Industrial Lane, Charmflair, right opposite the brewery on the Eastern Main Road. Yes, we do it all. Repairs to all makes and models, from your everyday sedan to SUVs, light trucks, pickups, and panel vans. We're also the sole distributors of Davantry tires, certified VTS inspection station, plus a wide range of services: oil change, front end and suspension repairs, tune-ups, tire alignment, batteries, electrical work, radiator and cooling system, AC repairs, and accessories galore. We offer pickup and drop-off service too. Call us today at 662-6545 or 662-6572. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Charmflair Auto Services Limited, number 1 Industrial Lane, Charmflair. We do it all.
Looking for trusted, affordable security and property services? Horatio Services has you covered across Trinidad and Tobago. We offer battle security, canine patrols, 24/7 protection, and all sorts of private investigations, discreet, professional, and effective. But that's not all. We also provide construction. From building to renovation, we bring your vision to life. Landscaping, keep your outdoors looking sharp and inviting. Maintenance, repairs, upkeep, and everything in between. At Horatio Services, you get professionalism, reliability, and personal care. Whether it's safety or property support you need, visit us at Marino Street, Arima, or call 388-7070. Today, Horatio Services, protection, precision, peace of mind.
I want to tell just a nice guy. Come down by Rumbox one of these days, especially on Friday, and I'll tell you how to deal with that situation you're experiencing there, right? And Miss Cheryl Henry cut both, boy. Oh Lord, that woman cut both. But
All right, but this-
I cut my rumbox. I'll tell you what's been happening. And how
All right,
to
the
deal
New Era TT Radio continues with newera.ttradio.com and New Era TT Radio on TuneIn, where you can continue to enjoy the programming throughout the day and into the evening, where it gets even more invested in talk with Tony Fraser. But of course, you have excellent programming throughout the day on the New Era TT Radio platform, so don't go anywhere. Of course, this is where the breakfast show comes to an end, and we'll speak to you bright and early tomorrow morning. So have a fantastic day, whatever you do, and remember to smile and laugh. It's good for your health. I'm busy with rehearsals for an upcoming play in August.
What's the name of the play?
Your dough leaf foul to watch corn.
You see, again, my life is being exposed. I left foul. I'm watching corn.
You don't leave foul to watch corn.
I left foul and I'm watching corn. But corn only hit me in my eyes. So, bah!
That's the name of the play.
Sometimes while you're watching corn, somebody else going with your corn, you know.
Somebody else going to foul me. I have no problem with that.
Don't the chance. He feel he's King Cock. Oh God! Anyway, have a fantastic day.
To Corey Pascal and of course and GP.
You think Corey Pascal is ready to be King Cock?
I'm just saying good morning to Corey Pascal.
The slick and the wicked, Sir Richard.
And of course, the Gailey. Gailey, good morning to you.
She's the queen hen. She's the queen hen.
You don't want the best.
Anyway, free lessons at Rumbox this Friday.
You don't leave out to watch corn coming up in August. Trust me, it's going to be a riot.
That sounds like a riot. Don't leave it for to watch corn.
Wendell,
Eh?
you can imagine as we're talking sexual harassment, anybody going around GP with sexual harassment?
Huh?
All right, okay. Let's go away. Let's go. Richard.
We go figure it out on the chat later.
Yeah.
Anyway, folks, have an absolutely wonderful day. Remember, you've got only one life. Live it, okay?
Yep. Be you. Tell what everybody else says.
This has been
the Breakfast Show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The breakfast show got the vibes turned on.